Hey everyone, Joe here, and today's we got a 2-for-1 guest. That's right. We've got none other than Christopher and Lawrence Connolly, the Connolly brothers. How are you guys today?
Doing
Doing great.
well.
Thanks so much.
Well, thanks for being on my show. And I saw the PR coming out for Minutemen Execute and Run, and I was like, this is my childhood. I can't wait for this one. Absolutely. And if you have been sleeping under a rock and you're like, who's Christopher Connolly and who's Lawrence Connolly? Well, guess what? They are the powerhouses of not only putting books, but maybe can we say, movie in the works
Yes.
as well.
There is a movie in the
That's
works.
the ultimate desire.
The ultimate desire. Now, starting out on the book, just purely on the book, what can you tell me about Minutemen Execute and Run that won't spoil too much of the plot?
Yeah, well, it's deals with a band of wounded warriors who get a second chance at life. Only the second chance changes them in a way so that now they have these incredible powers that burn out in 60 seconds or thereabouts. That's ergo the title Minutemen. But the thing is, when their superpowers burn out, they're not just out of superpower, they're out. They're down for the count.
Oh,
They
wow.
need protection. They are as vulnerable as infants at that point. And so if they're behind enemy lines and they're carrying out a mission or they're going for something, then they not only have to continue the mission, but they have to protect the guys that are down. And going it alone is their kryptonite. Teamwork is the only way.
I love that concept, and it's something near and dear to my heart. I'm not sure if everyone's seen my tattoos lately, but Wounded Warriors, that was basically the story of my dad. Like that's really that comes back to a military family, and if anyone who's been around people who served, this is it. There's no I in team. We all bleed red. If we're either all green or we bleed red. That was the Marine Corps thing for a while, and that Minutemen brings it back to it, and I love it. It's sets it up in reality, and it goes. And what if? What if they have powers? How would they use it? So when you're writing this book, do you also write for the concept of a movie at the same time, or you focus strictly on the book?
Well, pretty much strictly on the book.
Well,
Although, Chris, go ahead.
yeah. No,
Did
I was
you?
going to say I'll let Larry run with this, but I think it's that we want to stay true to the original story, the concept of what it's all about. And go ahead, Larry. I mean, that's the whole point. It's we want to kind of run them simultaneously, but Larry's a novelist, and he. Go ahead, Larry. You explain how your treatment was.
Yeah, it might help to know where it all came about. You see, Chris is an artist. He was involved in fashion design way back in the '80s and very successful. And he's also a terrific cartoonist. And he began working a few years ago on this Minuteman project. He didn't tell me about it. He just started working on it. And he developed this big pile of sketches and character profiles. And when he finally shared it to me, he laid it out on the table, and I looked at all these pictures of the characters, and I looked at the concept, and I felt like I knew these guys because the illustrations were so vivid that we began from the point of character. And of course, we
Wow.
had this killer plot, this killer concept, but the characters were what was going to really drive it. And so my first thought was that we would have this as a screenplay. And so I wrote it first as a spec script. And then when the film Nightmare Cinema came out, which is a film that I worked on along with Mick Garris of Showtime's Masters of Horror, when that film came out, Chris and I both went to the big premiere down in Hollywood, and we began pitching. We the next day and the next day and the next day, we began pitching this Minuteman script to various producers in town. And there was one last guy we were going to meet. And I had to fly back home. I had other things going on. And Chris said, "Don't worry, I'll take it." I said, "All right." It's highly speculative anyhow. Everybody was very kind to us up to that point, but we didn't have anybody saying, "Yes, we'll work with you." And I flew back home. I had a stopover in Salt Lake. I got off the plane. There were all these messages from Chris saying that,
Really?
I met with Jonathan Sanger, and yeah, he's very, very interested. And so we very likely might have had a project filmed by now, but that was 2019. And next thing that happened was COVID. And the next thing that happened was
Yes.
the writer's strike. And the next thing that happened were the fires. And we have a picture of taken from Chris's balcony in West Hollywood, where the fires came to within a couple of blocks of his home.
Wow.
And so all of this stuff kind of delayed things. So I figured, what the heck? Let's write the novel, because this is the other thing I do, is I'm a novelist. So I wrote the novel,
Right.
and it sold to Arc Manor. It's coming out October 14th, and so the movie will, we hope, eventually happen. But right now, the novel is definitely coming out in
The
October
novel's
14th.
coming on, definitely. Yeah,
And by
that's
the
an
delay,
amazing story. Yeah.
with everything, with all the delays, we just keep getting richer and deeper with the whole story, and we have more going on with it. And from the very get-go, I've always said, with everyone I've met with, and you brought it up earlier, I believe you brought it up, maybe it was in our pre-conversation, but I would love to create a foundation out of this too. This is not a political story, but it's a story written and it's about veterans, and it's about their vulnerabilities and the human side of them. But we would like to do a lot with this whole project, this whole platform.
That's amazing. And that's what comes across. And I didn't know it started as a character sketching and then into a screenplay idea and then into the movie. And it makes sense. And it makes sense. Once you said 2019, I'm like, oh, COVID. Yeah, there's no way you get. How many projects got put on hold for like indefinite for a little bit, because
That's
of that.
right.
And then the strike happens. Of course it does.
Exactly.
I truly believed that I could pitch the graphic novel, as the storyboards, the story, all complete, and believe that we could just leap to a live action film. Now, again, as I say, maybe it's the delays that have been very helpful for us, because Larry, the story is getting richer, the characters are rich and deep. So I think it's actually I'm looking at it as an optimistic thing, saying this is a good delay.
Absolutely. No, it seems that way because, as you said, this very well could be a graphic novel piece as well. And that's what, as Larry was talking about how it's structured, I'm like, oh my gosh, this would actually make a brilliant graphic novel too. It like the medium possibilities are endless. You have the movie, you've got the novel coming out October 14th, you've got the graphic novel maybe, and you put this all together, it's kind of what's happening in the world now. I love this. It gets more readers, more peoples, more viewers, all interested in the same IP, and that's
And
brilliant.
if we could, I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but we see this as a gaming platform. We're also working on
Absolutely.
Larry. It's a young teen novel, right?
It would be a middle grade novel, and this is something that we worked on also during COVID. And we were working with a very talented artist. Chris, of course, is a very talented artist, but we also working with a fellow named Jeffrey Harris. And Jeffrey illustrated the first couple of chapters of this book called Game On, which is about these kids who are playing this game called Minutemen, and they begin to make a surprising discovery that maybe the Minutemen aren't just in the game. Maybe they're really out there in the world. And so it is a book that kind of runs parallel to the Minutemen novel that's coming out, but it's also tells a different story from a different point of view for a younger audience. And we're hoping that this does come to fruition, and it will broaden the appeal of the Minutemen franchise.
The beauty,
Absolutely.
it
And
introduces the younger generation to this as well, and that can carry on into the later years.
And
that's
if anybody
exactly
wants
it.
to see some of Jeffrey's illustrations, they can do that. We have a newsletter. They can find it at concomentertainment.substack.com. And in the most recent issue of the newsletter, we have this animated 1.5 minute book trailer featuring Jeffrey Harris's illustrations.
That's an amazing concept. It works on so many levels, and I'm glad you brought up the audience. The level of audience, and I think this is needed. We probably all grew up with the fantasy or the sci-fi or something that got us into arts, into writing, into creatives when we're growing up. And there seems to be sometimes generational gaps that happen. And I know your body of work, so I'm not going to lie. So I do know your body of work. You are absolutely part of that voice needed. And Minutemen, Execute and Run, it sounds like a home run for it as well. I think this will energize a lot of people who want to become and learn values from it too. Not all books have to be, the doom and gloom. Values should be part, and I think that's what you really hit home on all your stuff, the values. Where does that come from? Where does the value, like when I'm say value, I mean like the core value that you put into your writing without being over the top on it?
Yeah, where does it come from? That's a good question. Chris and I have always been creative, and if you go back in time, somewhere in my mom's stuff, somewhere in our mom's stuff, is a picture of Chris and me wearing a couple of costumes that we created. We're just little kids here, right? And I created the Green Hornet costume, and Chris created the Kato costume. And
Right.
somewhere, I have to find this picture. Somewhere is a picture of us doing Green Hornet and Kato for no reason, just because we wanted to do it. So just I think the this desire to create, this desire to enter into other lives, to become other people, whether it's through putting on a costume or it's writing a book and entering the characters' lives that way. I think that at least for us, as I see it, it's just something that is inherent. It's something that we've always had. It's something that we've always wanted to do. Some people always want to go into business. Some people always want to go into politics or sing. But we've always had this drive to create. I think it's Chris. It's what sent you to New York back when you were 20. Chris just moves away to New York, and within a year he's got an advertising agency, and he's doing fashion design for some of the biggest companies in New York. What do you think, Chris? Am I on the right track here?
You are, and I think was mentioned was how do you do this? It's really telling the story, and
Yeah.
actually, it's like a painting, if I can say that, because when you look at a painting, you see it for what it is, but you see it for what you see it for. We're not trying to have someone read this and see the story in any political way, but it's about it's talking about the vulnerabilities of these people that are very skilled, but suddenly come back broken, wounded. And it comes from a good place at first, where the government is trying to heal them, give them their lives back. They served, they're getting their lives back, and suddenly they're whole and healthy. But of course, it's a side effect. There's a side effect that takes place, and with that, and because of the different nationalities and ethnicities of these
Right.
characters, we're not really blasting it in your face. It's just there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
think
what
what
I really enjoy what you said right there, because we all can probably name books and TV shows where it's definitely on purpose and it's in your face and it's just like it takes away from the plot. It does.
Yes. Yeah.
And the way you're doing it is natural.
Mhm.
And that really gives back the genuine part of writing. And you can have the most fantastic story as long as it's genuine.
Right.
And that's what Larry does with his writing. And we're going back to you, Chris. Have you worked with your brother a lot with the like, I've got an idea for a character that looks like this? Do you guys do tandems back and forth to get the books going, or
I've run a marketing design and print firm for many years. Put it
right?
that way. And I actually own the company, and I've learned to work with a staff that you got to let artists, myself, Larry, you got to let them create. So I have the whole thing all outlined, the story, the plot, everything. And there's a couple times where I said to Larry, if you want to run with us, run with us. And I always feel that because we're collaborating, I do have final say because of the true value, the true premise of the story. But at one point, I said to Larry, we were mixing up the characters a little bit. I met with a lot of different producers before Jonathan, and they all had their input. But there is something. Larry and I sat aside talking about how this could make it rich or whatnot. And I presented a video I saw of this one person, this character. I'm not going to really go into it too much. Read about it. But the thing is, suddenly Larry created a whole new character, and I loved it. And I said it fit with the vision I wanted to go with it. He named he named her. He put her in, and this is it. That's what true collaboration is, right?
Right.
I got to trust his skill and his art. He's got to trust my vision, and that's what comes together. And we can't step on each other's toes, because if you do, he's going to stunt me. I'm going to stop block him from doing
Yeah,
something, right? Yeah.
that's amazing.
It was
And
a
then
video. It was a video of a kickboxer. It was a very
Yeah,
kinetic
martial
video.
artist.
Yeah, martial art. Yeah.
that's amazing.
Beautiful. And again, goes back to the characters. Each of the characters have a skill. They have their personality that they bring to this.
Right.
So even without the hero or the superhero part of it or the side effect, they have their abilities.
And that's what it needs to be. It needs to be grounded in humanity.
Right.
And that's what sci-fi helps us since before Star Trek, always, obviously. It helps us ground in humanity. Now, I do have a background in a bit of both, not as well as neither of you, even close to it. But I understand what Scott McCloud would say about having a great graphic artist and a great writer. And the more you get educated and better become at your craft, the further away you get to each other. However, it looks like that both of you, since you're brothers, have avoided that entirely, and you actually got better and closer. Is that somewhat correct?
Yeah, I think
I
so.
think in my case, Larry is my older brother. So I respect, and I do feel comfortable with the IP that they'll listen if I have something to say. But Larry is my older brother. He knows what he's doing with the writing. So yes.
Oh, absolutely. And Larry, you've said the same thing, yeah?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Getting back to that pile of sketches that Chris did for all of the characters, and that actually became the structure of the novel in an interesting way. Because think of this: I'm looking at all of these character sketches laid out on the table, and there's a pile for a character named Daniel Hayes, and there's a pile for a character named Zoya Zinchenko, and on. And when the novel began to gel, it became clear that the best way to tell this story was from the point of view of these 7 different characters, so that the novel is presented in a series of scenes that are focused on one individual character at a time. Now, it's not the first person, it's all third person, but we're very close to these characters. We're in their thoughts, we're in their world, we're in their hangups. And so the story is presented from these 7 points of view. And this is what Chris is talking about when he's talking about, political. Each one of these characters has a point of view, but the point of
Right.
view that we actually get from the story is the amalgam. It's the group point of view. And these guys are at odds a lot of the time, but they have learned that the only way they're going to succeed is if they set aside their differences and become this mosaic of power. And so that they can go into a mission, they can go on a mission, and they can go in with a plan, and they can make sure that everyone gets out alive. There's this one character, Daniel Hayes. This is his big thing: get out alive. Something happened to him in the war that he learned that he never, ever wants to get out of a situation and leave anybody behind. So he's a stickler for this. And now, leaving people behind and getting out alive can be pretty difficult when your team is beginning to drop, and you're beginning 1 person down, 2 person down, 3 person down, and now you have to continue the mission, but you still have to protect these people who have given their power to advance the mission and are now dependent on you getting them out alive. And when Chris began laying this all out and we began talking about it, I thought, this has got to be a go. We're going to do this.
It sounds amazing. And I keep thinking it's like a found family, which the military is. It's a found family. It's a bunch of people coming together for one purpose.
It's
And
always
I
been
love the concept of that being presented in the book, especially today, especially for children, especially for people who can just understand coming together for one goal will help everyone out.
And it's a story. It's a story about brothers and sisters of war. They come back, as we say, and they're broken. But as we say, and you had referenced something earlier, but is the Marine saying, "Once a warrior, always a warrior"? Right? I mean, so even it was time for them to stand up again, and that's the other premise of the story. It's regular people with vulnerabilities, but with a special twist.
My dad would have loved this one. Absolutely loved it. Now, I asked this of all my guests, and we'll go Chris and Larry. What is the one thing you would tell younger? When I mean younger, I mean like teenage or below you for advice now.
For advice in life,
Anything.
or I just, always, just believe in yourself and just keep moving forward. This is an amazing journey that we're all on. I have a little mantra I say to myself: "You are never lost. You're always where you're meant to be." And
Cool.
where I arrive, when I arrive, I'll arrive on time. And that is, in truth, a case what happened with COVID hitting us and delaying us. But as I mentioned earlier, because of the delays, maybe if we got here too soon, we wouldn't have been ready. So I believe in these delays are there for a reason, and I will arrive when I'm supposed to arrive.
I
That's the
love it.
true belief that I have.
No, it's very zen, very centering. Absolutely perfect. And Larry, how about you?
4 words I would say to him: you will get there. Don't rush, don't worry.
Right.
Put it in,
Right.
put in the effort every day. Dream a little every day. You will get there. I work with a lot of young writers, and young writers are really eager to be published. They want to be writers, and what I try to tell them is that they already are writers. You don't have to be published to be a writer. You simply have to write. The publishing will come. The success will come. But the first thing you have to do is dream big, write as well as you can, put in a little effort each day, and you will get there.
Perfect. That's what we used to say. Put your reps in. Writing is just like working out. If you think you're going to do this great thing at once, no, put your reps in, put your work in, and it will come. Well, that's brilliant. And I can't wait for Minutemen Execute and Run October 14th, plus possible, fingers crossed, still movie coming out, and maybe video games, and maybe the graphic. I want all of it. I want the package set. I'm greedy. I want the package set so I can have it on my shelves and I can play the game and I can show everyone who actually would love. I know so many people who love your writing. I know so many people who just love the concepts. And Chris, these character stories are it. Always, always and forever. Character stories above plot stories, always.
Can we pitch
Now,
the website, the Minuteman newsletter?
I was going to say, where can we find you on socials? Where's going to be your tags?
Yeah, Chris just mentioned it. We have the minutemennovel.com. They can go there and they can see the cover. They can see the link to the pre-order page on Amazon, and they can see a really cool book trailer there as well. They can also go lawrenceconnolly.com, where I have a lot of information on Minutemen, but they can also find out a lot about me there. And both Chris and I are on social media too. We're easy to find.
Love it. Love it. Select, follow, and learn. And that's the best thing. I think because you're both giving back to the communities that supported you or you are in, that is the best way for people to learn. Follow and engage. Absolutely, especially the engagement part. Well, folks, thanks so much for being on the show. On behalf of myself, Joe, and Larry, and Chris, we bid you, as Paul Harvey would say, good day. Still working on that one. Bye, everyone.
Bye, and thank you
Bye.
very much.